bosses, 2 delves, and new Dragonhold areas. I guess, well, okay. Again, I dislike that there is no dungeon or arena or mini trial. But okay, maybe they focus on the chapter already. The base game introduces our updated activity finder for dungeons and battlegrounds. Has someone actually seen a difference with that stuff? And also focuses heavily on the first part of the performance improvements for ESO with an overhaul of how memory is managed. Did that have an impact already, this one? I haven't played a lot yet. Along with updating 3-piece item sets, so we'll find we have made several improvements to Warden, Sorcs, and Dragon... no, definitely not Dragon Knights. In the realm of identity. Adjusted some values of damage over time abilities. Yeah, you can notice I'm salty about this. Shit. I'm throwing poop this patch, and I'm really not happy about it. Note that due to the number of combat chases, we have reduced skill respects to 0 gold for 1 week. Okay, cool. I see no improvements at all. My performance is worse after patch. Wait, I can actually put the Twitch chat. I forgot. Easy. Beautiful. You're also throwing poop this patch? Beautiful. Okay, let's move on. That's 4 gig. Did they actually ever say they plan to reduce the overall size of the game? It's like 80-90 gigabytes now. Dragonhold. You actually do see an improvement. Okay. I think we just have to see and wait, because in the first 2-3 weeks people don't usually, like, they usually do the new content instead of their old patterns, so it's a little bit hard to see. But anyone seen the dungeon finder work better? I know there's people that complained about high MMR queuing times for battlegrounds, but other people seem to have no issues with the queue stuff. I really hope the queue system works now, because that was one of the big reasons why a lot of people quit in elsewhere. MMR is matchmaking system, so the very good players play against very good players instead of just plateauing scrubs that are new to the game. New zone, sure, nice. I don't understand why there's a hole in the middle, but maybe that's just me. This here, no clue why, but whatever. It triggers me though a little bit. Dragon Finale, in addition to the DLC, comes to its epic conclusion in Dragonhold. Okay, sure. Middle elsewhere. You sat in queue for 20 minutes before you got into dungeon. Yeah, in the morning maybe there's not many people on, right? I wouldn't call it epic. In my opinion, I don't think Season of the Dragon... I mean, they sold a lot of copies with elsewhere, right? But none of these players stick to the game. And I think Souls needs to figure out how to keep people engaged. Not just get the hype up with the chapter and then they just all fuck off and gone. Frost and Storm Dragons, okay. We have wait, oh yeah, wait, we didn't have Storm Dragons before either? We only had Fire Dragons? No, I don't, Johan. So the new item set. So I already reviewed this in a separate video, so I'll only briefly go over this. We have Marauder's Haste, which gives you like a 20% speed buff. This is a unique speed buff that stacks on top of Major and Minor Expedition, on the Orc Racial passive speed buff, and so on. The speed cap is still at 200 though, keep that in mind. But this is actually nice. Well, the set is nice, but what I don't understand is, like, a few patches ago they just removed unique speed buffs and now they add them again. I'm not sure why, but okay. It's not super strong, but it's nice. Dragon Guard Elite, you gain a stack of Dragon Guard Tactics for 5 seconds when you deal direct damage to an enemy from the front or sides. Up to 5 stacks. Each stack of Dragon Guard Tactics increases your weapon critic by... yeah. So a lot of people farmed advancing your key, the AK Berserking Warrior. You don't really have to do that anymore. You can just get Dragon Guard Tactics. It's actually a pretty good set. It's actually a really strong set. If you don't have Alcast, it's like you could get this one. It's really good. Because that's a lot of crit. Yeah, like when you deal direction to an enemy from the front or sides, it's really wonky. Like you just need to stand a little bit left or right side, and then it should proc, right? So it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Will Marauders proc after blocking with a sit? I'm not sure. Damage shield ability. I'm not sure if that's that you actively have to press something. I tested the set with Nightblade and I just tested with Harness Magic, obviously. I'm not sure if it will. Most likely not. To use the new sets, are there stamina magic builds? What do you mean? Chaps should be direct damage though. It should be buffed by Mastered Arms, right? And light attacks should proc it anyway. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Alcast is still stronger, and you can run Hunting's Rage, you can run this, you can run Advancing, it doesn't matter. Just get Alcast. Imperfect or perfect, it's 10 times better than anything else. But maybe it will get... I think I have the... So again, like... Let's first move on, but I think a lot of the OP sets will get adjusted next patch. Then we have Central Defender. Dealing direct damage with a non-heavy attack grants you a persistent stack of Central's duty up to 10 stacks. And when you do a heavy attack, you restore a lot of Stamina Magicka. That's 5k Magicka and Stamina. Sounds like a lot of work. I don't think this is good. The bonus here and whatever. Ancient Dragon Guard. Gain 300 weapon and spell damage while health is over 50. Gain 3,400 physical and spell resistance. I like this set, not because it is strong, but more so because it's like, okay, above 50% health you gain weapon and spell damage, and below 50% you gain something else. So I like that it has this effect of swapping back and forth. I was trying for PvP, want to choose the Pottle crit. That's maybe a bug. Because I'm pretty sure Chaps is direct damage now, but maybe the code is still on like dot damage. I have no clue how they... But there's always these kind of bugs. When they are changing abilities, they always forget to swap some values. Happens every time. Daring Corsair. So if not, make sure to report it. So they actually have a bug report. Daring Corsair. Reduce the cost of your weapon abilities by 10%. Magic or stamina. Okay. You gain mana heroism. I actually like this set. I mean, it has stamina, magic recovery, and 10% is a lot, but it's only your weapon abilities. So you'd have to have a very weapon-based build. And you get minor heroism, which is nice. New Moon Acolyte. This is one of the good sets, craftable too. It gives you 481 weapon and spell damage on top of... So basically 600 weapon damage, right? This here plus this. And if you apply modifiers, it's probably more like 750. Increase the cost of your active abilities by 5%. The only downside is that you have 5% more cost. And now what a lot of people do is to reduce this number is they only front bar the set, like in PvP mostly. Because you have the expensive abilities on the back bar and the cheaper on the front bar. Some sort of that. And 5% is not that much. If you're a red guard, or if you have my cost reduction, I don't think this will really matter. So this is a very, very powerful set. Also because it has penetration here as well. Which is the most like the strongest damage increase stat in the game. So yeah, that's a lot of weapon damage. 5% is very noticeable in no CP. Yeah, that's true. Sleeping. If you can sustain it, I guess so. I mean, this set is good. The question is just whether you can sustain it. And in non-champion points, sustain is usually already non-existent. So this 5% might kneecap you really hard. Could have been a bug, but I'm pretty sure on PTS chats was being mitigated twice. Once by direct damage, then again by dot. Yeah. I know EMAC tested it in the first week and it scaled with Thaumaturge instead of Master Arms because they forgot to change it. But if that's the case, I think it's bugged because it shouldn't be mitigated by both. That would be really wrong. That should not be the case. So maybe test it again and report it. Or let me know, I can also forward it to the devs. If all the dot nerfs, Relican becomes more of a must. I mean, the Relican is so strong, but I think it will get nerfed in 3 months. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. But yeah. The thing with Relican is you don't really use it on all bosses. A lot of people overestimate the set because they don't really know that you can't use it in all boss fights, right? Because it's only good if you have full single target focus. If you try to kill several targets, Relican is useless, so you want to use other sets. Like Alcasthq and Zogwin, stuff like that. Or this here. Okay, achievement, collectibles, that's a lot of stuff. Cool. Doesn't have any impact on gameplay. New motifs, base game. Activity finder. Note, okay. Dungeons adjusted the removing from a timer when leaving an instance. Yeah, okay, this is nice. This was weird when people just insta-dipped out and then it's like, okay, poof, I'm also gone. It's nice. Battlegrounds. Accepting a ready check for Battlegrounds. Battleground will now immediately send you to the Battleground. Is this actually good or bad, guys? This is to help avoid a common situation where repeatedly ready checks happen with only one or two not accepting them. Okay, so instead of changing the ready check functionality, they just port everyone in instantly. What's the problem with accepting the ready check one and then the program can just remember, okay, he accepted, so he's ready. They're not working? But I guess it's not bad. If the battleground fills up, I think it's fine. Some people also have longer loading times than others. The battleground will continue to find replacements for players that declined or timed out of the ready check. 5 minutes, you will, okay. Okay, that's nice. Also, we will not receive the lever buff now. So if it doesn't fill up, okay, that's nice, that's cool. People accept, yeah, that's true, that's true. So there ever a reason to take Nern over Sharpens on a mall for PvP? I usually go with Nern because it also buffs the healing abilities. You can go... I think there's only a few people that use mauls. Like if you really want to hit the tanky bastard spot. The question is, you can just use Onslaught now to reduce the enemy's like physical pen to almost 0. Or increase your pen. So I think there's better options than a maul. New Moon and the Breton, yeah. Problem with New Moon Acolytes, they increase... Yeah, I think it also increases dodge, roll, block and stuff like that, right? So it's like all stuff is increased by 5. Alliance War, this section of the video finder has been removed. I didn't even know there was a group finder for Alliance War. I was like, when they actually announced this, I was like, that's not true, there was none. And then I checked in the game and I'm like, oh, there is really one. Like, I've not even seen that once. Memory management overhaul. We have a new memory pooling system to reduce memory fragmentation. This fundamentally changes how we handle memory use in ESO and will improve your experience by significantly reducing the chance of crashing from running out of memory. So what they're saying is that there will be no more memory leaks, right? Because the game had a lot of memory leaks. And in trials, the longer you stood in an instance, the lower your FPS got. So that should not be happening anymore. Is that what they're saying here? Good alternative for Rally and Alcast. I would go with Zogwin and maybe Hunting's Rage. They're very easy to get, these two. Or Vicious Ophidian is also nice. Vicious Serpent, Vicious Ophidian. Yeah, good shout. I think Vicious Serpent or Vicious Ophidian, if you really don't want to be bothered with sustain, it's probably the best set to go with. Can't fix or prevent memory leaks. Oh my, yeah. No, only active abilities on your bar. Okay, so dodge and block doesn't get increased. I heard someone say, but I haven't tested it yet. Okay, so it's only abilities, sure. Battleground, okay, new out. Okay, these were... So I like that they reworked or like updated the old free pieces. And I'm pretty sure they will work more on that. Like, there will be more of these. So agility... Old it was this, new it gives a little bit more. It's not a huge buff, but it's still nice. Like, it's like 300 more stamina and like 10... No, not the... Like a little bit more than 10 more weapon damage. So this is nice. Blessing of Potatoes. Before it was 10, now it's 15. So you can really reduce your ultimate by quite a bit. On top of 5% damage reduction. So I think this set is definitely viable for certain builds. Ulti cost increase? Probably. I'm not sure. Somebody would have to test it. Eagle Eye. Then we have this. Increase the range of your bow. And now it's weapon crit. That's a lot of crit. But it's like... In stealth you already have... And it's only direct damage. Yeah, useless. Endurance. Old. Stamina recovery and health. And here you get 2k health and 600 health recovery. So a lot of people pointed out, like, well, Beekeeper gives you like 450 health recovery on 5 piece. This here gives you 600 on the 3 piece. I'm not sure what they thought. Either this here is a new level and Beekeeper is just not good enough. So Beekeeper might be buffed in a future patch. But then it probably would have to be buffed to like 1k health recovery. Which would be completely broken, right? Like if 3-piece Endurance gives you 600 health recovery, a 5-piece Beekeeper should probably give you like 800-900. But that would be way too much. I'm just not sure what they thought here. Whatever. Grace, Max Magicka 2.4. So that's a lot of Max Magicka here. It's nice too. Then Vengeance Leech. So this is like a very nice set if you don't have Vicious Serpent. This is like the poor man's Vicious Serpent or False God. When you kill an enemy, you heal for 2k health and restore 2k magic and stamina. That's a lot of sustain. Willpower, same thing. Increased max magic and spell damage. Then we have Wrath of the Emporium with spell crit to direct range damage abilities. Useless. In this update we have opened a new Cyrodiil campaign. Ladvulon is a 30-day CP-enabled non-alliance locked campaign. Okay, so we talked about this before. It's this one here. I think it will be empty, to be honest. The player base is not big enough to support 2 fully locked campaigns. And it's mostly the good PvPers 1vx boys that really want faction lock on. I think most people don't give a shit about faction lock because they're with their alliance and their guild, which is only in one alliance anyway. So they don't mind the faction lock. But it will be interesting to see how this turns out. And I'm happy Sauce at least thought about this and implemented it instead of just ignoring. So we will see how this turns out. But obviously this one has advantage because it's on top. How is Bobo? Not bad. Didn't really suffer that much. The transmute Geo... FK. My guild is super split in faction. Yeah. We will see, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the non-alliance locked will be full. Who knows? It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. All I know is that the game doesn't have the population to support 2 locked campaigns. So we will see how it turns out. The raccoon cat. I would replace poison injection with consuming trap. Because you will have better sustain then if you don't use the master's bow. Necromancer. Death comment. Due to many of the current targeting issues with corpse and tether abilities, we are allowing shocking siphon and its morphs, as well as restoring tether and its morphs to bypass the global cooldown. Oh, test, yeah. I didn't notice a difference. I still get this issue where I try to target the corpse and then my character makes this weird turnaround. It was good, Ognevka. It hurt a lot. I cried a lot. I'm kidding. The unlocked is only interesting for getting a lot of transmute. It already turned into a transmute geode farming campaign. Great. So Boneyard increased the base cost to 4k and decreased the damage. So overall, AoE damage got nerfed a lot and a huge cost increase. Which really show, like, a lot of classes have issues now, like a Magicka Templar. You throw spear in the air, drop your blockade, and voila, 0 Magicka. Templar literally went from basically top Magicka DPS to completely trash can. Frozen Colossus increases the total duration of major vulnerability to 8 seconds, up from 5. Enemies hit by major vulnerability cannot be affected again for 20 seconds after it applies, to prevent situations where this debuff could be kept up indefinitely by rotating an army of necromancers. I wouldn't say you needed the army, you only needed like 6 or 7 of them. Rapid Rot increases the damage bonus for this passive to 15%, up from 10%. It's like Necro DPS is already higher than anyone else and they buffed the dot. Like this here increases your dot damage, right? Reusable part increases the cost reduction granted from this passive to 50. Okay, shocking siphoning. Decrease the damage by 20 and the mage by 40. So one very important thing to note, at the start of the PTS they wanted to nerf this shit by like 60% or like 70%. And then everybody was like everybody that did one DPS test instantly knew that dots were too weak. So my guess is still that Sauce didn't bother to test, because all they did was Furycraft on the paper. Because there it might have made sense, right? But not... Like if Sauce had done one DPS test, they would have noticed that the dots are useless. Literally. Triggers me so hard. Bone Tyrant and Goliath, okay, whatever. Disdain, increase the damage reduction to 15. Okay. Somebody showed me a screenshot where in Sunspire the stairs were gone, but I think it's a bug. Templar, yeah. I tested Templar. I mean, you still can reach over 80k DPS, right? Don't get me wrong. But when I compare it to other classes, it's just not worth it. What do you mean 100 days Inklings? Scared that the dots are useless? What I'm trying to say is, like, if one employee at Sauce HQ, they have like 300 employees, had made one DPS test on the target dummy, they would have realized that dots are useless, right? When they were nerfed by 60%. But my guess is still they just Furycraft on paper, or use like a dice or something to balance it. Otherwise it makes no fucking sense. I don't know how to explain it. Sauce doesn't tell me stuff, so I can just guess. Yeah, Inklings, I know. I mean, even now, even the damage got, like, the damage nerf is not that big anymore. It's still a little bit too much. But that's a problem in general. You buff all the dots a little bit again, they all become too strong. You nerf them, they all become useless because they standardized all dots to about the same damage. So either all of them are good or all of them are useless, basically. I'm not sure. More roleplay stuff. Don't you think the Souls force us to bring healers with Ma? I mean, they want us to make, like, they want us to think more about sustain, definitely. But what do players do? They just remove the AoE abilities because they cost too much, right? Nightblade twisting puff is good? Yes, but that's because it was... So I can tell you what happened with Nightblade twisting puff. Sauce was like, oh shit, Mechblade is at the bottom. Then they made the dice with different abilities on it and rolled it. And it was twisting puff on top. So it's like, okay, let's buff this to make Nightblade a little bit better, more viable again. So now when you compare Twisting Puff to other AoE abilities, it does way too much damage. Twisting Puff does as much damage as a single target spammable, and by their own definition, that should not be the case. So I can already guarantee you this ability will be nerfed next patch again. So they just don't have enough time, they don't have enough people to fix stuff. Why don't they realize that? Like, it's just a dumb change. Anyway, let's move on. Where are we? Combat and abilities. We will see. Maybe they know that dots are not as good anymore and they just want to see how it pans out. It might be another thing. I'm just trying to say that PTS week 1, it just shows that Sauce doesn't have a clue. If one dude had done a DPS test, they would have realized dots were useless back then. Maybe they knew, but just wanted to bait us? I don't know, it's really hard to tell. I just don't, like, I made a whole video on sledgehammer changes, right? I don't want to see buffed or nerfed by 60-80%. That's way too much. Yeah, and my impression is still, I think Sauce knows something we don't know yet. So for us, these changes might not make sense, but for them, it makes sense because they know how it will be in like 2 patches or 3 patches. God, I'm very optimistic, eh? That's wishful thinking. Let's move on. In our efforts to improve server performance, we have refactored how sprinting functions on the backend and have made some changes to the design. I don't know how they can fix performance. It's like latency. These are so small changes in a it's like a needle in a haystack. It's not gonna change shit. Yeah, the patch. The class identity article also kind of shows that they probably don't even have a clue yet. It was so there was no detail to anything. They basically explained us what power fantasy and play pattern is. I think that's how far Sauce is. I just give them time till the next chapter. With the next chapter, I want to see a full game. We are not in beta or alpha anymore. So I just want to see next chapter. I want to see a full game, and then hopefully from there on, we will not get any sweeping changes anymore. Because it really strains people. A lot of people don't play 10 hours a day, right? Or even 4 or 5 or 2. By the end of the patch, or 2 months into the patch, they're working on their build, and then the PTS comes around and shovels a fist up there, you know where. Then, well, they're just out there for. It's just very demotivating. And it also triggers me as well. Like, reading through the patch notes and not getting depressed. Like, if you manage to do that, then good job. Okay, update many of the more values champion passives and nodes to be handled more efficiently on the server. This is an ongoing process and will be maintained when the champion point system receives adjustments in the future. Okay, so it will receive adjustments. I would love to see a roadmap for combat changes. Like, when can we expect what? That's what I fucking want. Right? Because then I would also know, okay, at least they have a clue, they know what they're doing. Updated the tooltip with major and minor buffs. Okay, destroying a siege weapon with no... Oh, it's still procced item sets. Interesting. Battle season pass. Oh my god, no, no, no. I doubt it. Yeah, Inklings, you're not wrong. We will see. We will see. Arrows will no longer blink in and out of existence as you bar swap. Really? Pretty sure it still happened to me on PTS. Stun abilities such as Rune Prison or Petrify will no longer fail to stun targets that are not currently CC'd or CC-mu. I had this happen in a battleground sometimes where the enemy didn't have the CC immunity circle below him and I could not stun him. I was like, what the F is going on? So maybe that will fix it. Pets that could not deal damage have now received therapy for anger management and will no longer attempt to pull their owners into Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Adjusted the standards from damage over time abilities to no longer deal approximately 2.5x the damage of a traditional spammable attack, such as Force Shock or Lava Wig, and now deal approximately 1.5. I just think you can't balance like this. Because there is so many dots that have secondary effects. And when they have secondary or effects, like, they will have to reduce the overall damage, right? Because there's other benefits to them. I just don't think it's the way to balance. Area of effect damage over time abilities will now once again mirror the damage of their single target counterparts instead of dealing approximately 33% less damage. To ensure they do not always beat out their single target counterpart, Twisting Puff. They will now cost approximately 66% more resources per second to maintain than their single target counterparts, up from 30%. Yeah. A lot of the builds now can, like, you have like your blockade and maybe another AoE ability, but that's about it. Otherwise you can't sustain. I tried on Magicka Templar, Spear, Unstable, and Ritual of Retribution. I swear, it's like, that's like 12-13k Magicka. Poof, gone. There's no way you're gonna sustain it. Healing over time abilities no longer adhere to the damage over time standards due to a limited application. Okay. A lot of people say in PvP that healing is too strong right now. It's like overall damage is lower, but maybe last time damage was just too high. Defile is not really used anymore. Oh, I have seen, wait, was it Scar X? A 16k Matriarch heal in PvP? Because of a sledgehammer change. Anyway, let's move on. Is solo PvP werewolf OP? Why OP? It's good. I wouldn't say it's OP, but it's good. Because I gave feedback to Sauce, it's like, why do you buff it by 80%? Wouldn't like 30 or 40% be enough first, and then maybe see whether it still underperforms or not? No, 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 no. Gotta go with 80%. Many morphs have changed the behavior of the original parent. Eruption or Solar Barrage are not fully adhered to some of the adjustments, such as power or cost. Player source snares are now additive. Okay, yeah. I hate snares. Every nerf to snares is good. Auras from ability search. Okay, apparently some people said this still doesn't work. Abilities and item sets that grant physical and spell resistance now grant an equal amount of both as a singular stat. What? Many items as a granted spell or fit now grant 0.5. Also, like Chudan and stuff is like. That's 297. That's still the same as previously, no? Okay, whatever, I mean. This was done to ensure total power remains the same with less variance in these stats. Okay. Do I still PvP? Sometimes. But not much. I usually can't take too much PvP at once. Carneli, that's because they just overbuffed them, because like the class did 2 less damage, they just buffed one of the abilities. So now we get to Dragoon Knight. And I don't overall have a lot of time to play at the moment, because I have to write my bachelor thesis. I have 3 months now, okay? But there is really nothing to be missed. There's no new content this update, so like what the fuck am I supposed to do anyway? Combustion, this passive no longer has a cooldown in order to help the Dragon Knight sustain itself. Since it doesn't have a class-based dedicated resource ability such as Dark Siphoning. Okay. This sounds like OP, but it's really not. I think it only procs when you actually apply the thing. Fiery Breath, this ability in Smurfs now lasts 10 seconds. Okay, increase the cost and reduce the damage. So, okay, that's like standard practice now with all the dots, AoE dots. Engulfing Flames. This ability's bonus flame damage modifier now uses both your spell damage and your max magic rather than only spell damage to allow for more builds to engage with the morph. So basically, the tank can't really use Engulfing Flames anymore to apply the extra fire damage buff. You need somebody that has high spell damage and max magic, otherwise it will not work. Well, it will work, but just less. I wonder if any other game has you learn total different rotations every 6 months? No. I mean, in World of Warcraft, they spam Frostbolt for 15 years. Literally. The mage rotation is Frostbolt, Frostbolt, Frostbolt. For 15 years. ESO every 3 months. Yeah, let's change everything. Okay, maybe that's a little bit... Maybe it's a 50 years, but you get the idea. Searing Heat. Fix. Increase the damage bonus to 33 from... Yeah, okay. The DK dots, I don't know. Are they really stronger? They still are not really that good. Final Fantasy just adds new skills to previous rotations. I would actually prefer just adding new skills than just completely reworking the whole thing every 3 months. Yeah, Captain, a lot of people feel like that. Now last 10 seconds, increase the base cost to 2.9. Man. Dot nerf by 47%. That's still a lot though, eh? Molten weapon. So what I liked is when now it gives you like major brutality and sorcery always. Same with crit surge. That's a nice change. Molten armaments fix issues. Okay, just a fix. Stone fist. So this is like, I hate this ability. It's very powerful, but the visuals and the sound suck so hard. It literally looks like I'm throwing poop on my stem DK. And personally for me, stem DK should be poison themed. But because I'm a meta slave, it's very powerful, so I'm gonna use it because it's a new spammable. Stamina now, they increase it, like it's like the #1 damage ability. I did like on the stem DK build video, I also showcased that. So you can gain up to 3 staggers, and each time you will do like 45 extra damage, and that's 3 times 45 for a whole group on each ability that ticks. So that's a lot of extra damage in the raid group, so you really want this. And you can keep it up 100% of the time because, like in PvP, once people are stunned, the stacks will get removed. But in PvE, you can stun bosses, right? So it can be up 100%. So it's a very strong ability. I just don't like it really makes me angry. We have received a great deal of feedback over the visuals and fantasy element of this ability. But they're trying to say Alcast complained so goddamn much during the latest PTS cycle, and we are going to continue working on both the story being told with the ability as well as the gameplay interaction of how you come to activate it. While we are relatively happy with the damage and group play this ability will open up, we definitely want to improve on how this ability ties into the feeling of a more martial-based Dragon Knight. Gonna be a ninja? Interesting. Okay. As well as they were staying rooted in the Orphan theme rather than pursuing more poison activity. Well, I guess I'm gonna delete my stem DK. Fucking rip. I don't want to throw around rocks, man. It's not a Stone Age anymore. But anyway, that's maybe I'm the only one. Maybe everybody wants Orphan-based, Orphan, like, themed DK. Whatever. I'm just salty. I think the ability was mostly reworked with aim at PvE, and then they're like, oh, we have to do something for PvP too. Well, they can just make a poison fist. Problem solved. I don't see the problem. Nightblades. So yeah, Dragon Knight, you want at least 1 in your group, right? Because of this stuff. And Magic DKs also perform fairly good DPS wise, but they need to be meaty. And they probably don't perform better than a stamina one, so they're still... Yeah. Grim Focus increased the base duration to 40 up from 20, and then Relentless got increased to 60. So that's a good change. I actually appreciate that. It doesn't increase your DPS by a lot, right? But you don't have to reapply it that much anymore, so it's nice. Teleport Strike updated the duration of the minor vulnerability for this ability to 10 seconds. Sure. They increase a lot of the damage dots to 10 seconds. From 8. Because they want us to do 10-second rotations, right? Although now some people use 14-second rotations because the dots are so bad. It doesn't really make a difference. Because you lose so much time weapon swapping and so on. Twisting Puff, increase the damage per tick of... So everybody, every AoE ability receives a nerf, and there is Mr. Twisting Puff, which receives a buff. Because Nightblade was useless, and they just had to make it viable somehow. And this will get nerfed next patch again, I can already tell you, it's too strong. Unless they don't touch Nightblade, and it's pissing me off. Because it just shows that they don't have like a goal in mind. It's like, oh, we don't have enough time to change anything anymore, so let's just swap some numbers. It's just like a company should have a procedure, a plan, right? Anyway, maybe I'm salty, I don't know. Summon Shade. Decrease the damage per hit of this ability and the shadow image by 31. Okay, no, yeah, okay. Dark Shade. Increase the damage by 2%. Hell yes. No one really uses Twisting? Well, you want... Twisting Puff? You really... in PV you won't use it. It's your strongest dot, dude. Deals more damage than a spammable, and that's why I'm telling you it's getting nerfed. Well Strike, reduce the cost. Oh, okay, so this is a spammable. Okay, oh, they removed. I didn't even notice that they reduced. I had really good sustain on Stem Blade when I tested it. Really good sustain. Maybe that was why. Siphoning. 40% damage reduction, drain power. This ability and its morphs now grant major brutality and sorcery. Okay, cool. Their plan is to see how much the community is complaining about X and then... Well, I think with the new team, they're trying to have a better plan, but it's just they're not enough people. They're just not enough people. Which class is the strongest magic at this patch? It's hard to say. I mean, Necromancer is most likely still better because of the Colossus, right? The vulnerability stuff. It's still better than anything else. Nightblade is definitely on top. Probably even the... yeah, like Mega Necro and Mechblade. The thing with Mech Sorc is, and Warden too, they can also parse really high, but they have pets, and pets usually go full retard mode in trials, and then you might lose DPS. Did I Volks in? Oh yeah, I did, but yeah, that's actually why I changed it. I didn't think people would get confused by that, but it makes sense. Okay, Sorcerer. Found armament rework, so I made a whole video on that too. YouTube a while ago. I really like the rework. It's a cool ability, it's 40 seconds, it shoots like 4 daggers. It's very, very cool, and it deals a lot of damage. It deals a lot of damage. And it still gives 8% max stam and 10% light attack damage, so I think it's a little bit... like how do you say, over budget, budget, I don't have, whatever, it's too much effects in one ability. I think it's not bad because class abilities overall should be more important or lucrative to pick, and if a class can't get something, they should be able to choose something of the weapon skill lines or like the guilds and stuff like that. Charge lightning fixed. Yeah, Daedric Prey. I don't understand this nerf. So they reduced the bonus damage from pets to 20% down from 40. This was in the last PTS cycle, and I haven't seen anyone complain about this, but I don't understand. But the pets are still really strong. I mean, the bird literally deals like 6k DPS, and you're not even activating it. Nightblade? Yeah, it's very good. Passive bot? What got nerfed, Shotty Line? I don't think so. So the familiar got a huge cost increase. It's a lot of like cost increase and damage changes, but not really anything else here. So the scamp is still useful, but technically you could replace it with a dot and it wouldn't really matter that much. Oh, it was 11%? Oh, okay. I can't remember. Clan Fear, it now deals magic ESO. The Clan Fear is used on target dummies. It gives you like 2k free DPS for stamina build, but it dies to a mud crab. It's literally useless. But I'm happy that it's not like, I really don't want my stem sword to run a pet. It just doesn't fit. I think that's Hurricane, Bound Armament stuff, like from Oblivion or whatever they take their magic from. I think it fits it very well. Then the bird. So this here, I don't sledgehammer change. Morph. This will result in approximately 87 increase for the base and approximately 55 increase for the matriarch. Such huge buff. Why would you buff it by that much in one patch? I don't understand. Bolt Escape. So they reworked the whole ability and it should not bug out anymore. Can somebody confirm this? Does it still bug or not? In PvP. Like where you try to streak, but it just gets stuck instead of porting forward. It doesn't bug anymore? Okay, that's nice. That's very nice. It was so annoying. Didn't happen yet. Okay. Ball of Lightning. This morph now ranks up in duration. Okay. So that's actually pretty strong. Gives you now a snare and immobilization immunity for 2 seconds. I think that's really strong. So it absorbs all projectiles and gives you immunity. I mean, that's really powerful. Lightning Splash. So still, this one is still used. It's not really used in the meta builds. It's too weak. Surge. This ability and its morphs now grant major brutality and sorcery at base. So that's a nice change. A lot of people, including me, gave feedback on that on the last PTS. Saying it's like, well, why don't you just make this give both major brutality and sorcery? So they listened. It just took them a while to implement it. Or they didn't listen and they just thought it of itself. I don't know. That's a good change. Templar. Or what is left of it. Piercing Javelin. Reduce the range to 22. Okay. These abilities will now ignore the target's physical or spell resistance to ensure they have a unique auxiliary effect. Okay. Puncturing Strikes. Snare. Yeah, okay. So this ability and its morphs will now properly be considered direct damage attacks rather than a hybrid of direct damage or damage over time. So this should only scale by with mastered arms and be mitigated by Ironclad. But somebody like Mad Hatton told me it's still not working properly. So if somebody is testing this, make sure to bug report it. Spear. Oh, I'm telling you, like, Templar, man. Like when I tested it, when you throw spears, your magicka goes from 100 to 0%. At least that's how it feels like. It's just so expensive. And it doesn't do good damage. It's bad. So that's the big change. Backlash. You can now crit. Boom, baby. This is a very strong change, and it deals a lot of damage now. I'm not sure if it's a little bit overtuned in PvP though, when it can crit. Feel like that's really strong. This ability and its morphs will now only store damage dealt from the caster of the ability. Was hitting 8 to 14k in PvP. That's a lot of damage, yeah. Rather than anyone who hits the afflicted target. This was done to offset some of the staggering power of the light. The ability could bring in group situations where low damage builds could apply the ability and generate free real estate from their allies' contribution. Now you have to put in the fervor to get the full power. It's funny how they explain it, so I can tell you what happened. Why they changed this to this. Because that's what they don't tell you. Fu was here. Thank you for the sub. 35 months. Mother of God. Thank you very much. How are you doing? So, why... So... Backlash had a problem. Yeah, it's still good. I'm just trying to explain to you why they changed it. So, before... The whole group could contribute to the explosion, right? And the servers or the system couldn't handle the amount of damage that came in. And often it didn't explode at all because it was too fast full and then it just didn't explode at all. So instead of fixing that, what they are doing is they just now only you can do damage to the light, right? So store damage dealt from the caster of the ability. So now it will scale less and not bug out anymore. So they didn't fix the bug that was attached to it, they just changed it so it can't happen anymore. Fix an issue where these abilities would conflict with one another if more than one casts more for... Okay, yeah, sure. Did they forget to nerf Mystic Orb? I'm not sure. Still a good change. Yeah, it's a good change. Yeah, it's a good change. So you can like kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Purifying Light to heal. Will now, as the states, always apply after effect ends via any means, such as being purged, being recast, or ending naturally. Okay. Eclipse, Living Dark. This morph now only snares target for 60% rather than immobilizing. Yeah.
What the hell?
Man, Macplars were gods in Scalebreaker.
Guys, I'm done for today.
Reduce the healing to 10. I think they're still really strong now. I don't think these changes are enough. This ability is just so strong. Reduce the initial and secondary damage dealt of this ability by 44% and the final hit by 25. Okay. Sir Salvador, for the 3 months, thank you. So will it not be worth it to keep Purifying Light up in a trial group? Oh, it will. You will still, like, in a trial group, you will still reach the cap easily. It still deals a lot of damage. Yo, Neuhab. Maybe you gotta send a ticket again to Sauce. Maybe your routing changed again. That would suck. But who knows, maybe that's actually the case. Yeah, Baltres. In PV, that is. Sunfire, so again, damage reduction and cost increase. Fixes. Warden. Same with War. Like, Templar actually performs well. Macplar, not so much. And the funny thing is, Ritual of Retribution, it also scales with stamina, right? So the Magicka-based Ritual of Retribution ability actually does more damage on a Stamina Templar than it does on a Magicka Templar. Which is a little bit Pepega. I'm not sure Shotty line. He said soon though. So he should be soon. Decrypt 117 with the Prime. Thank you very much. I see we have a little Master Chief there. I'm looking forward to Halo Reach on Steam. Gonna be great. I will upload this to YouTube, yes. Warden, Animal Companions. His abilities morphs now grant Major Brutality and Sorcery. Okay, cool. This will now remove one negative effect from you every 5 seconds. So it's like a pulse purge, I guess. Dive. Okay, so reduce the damage and increase the cost. Cutting Dive. This morph no longer reduces the cost of the ability beyond the standard stamina cost reduction. It now applies a bleed to the target for 7 seconds if they are off balance, which can stack up to 7 times. I can't even remember this ever proccing. Off balance has a capped uptime anyway, so it will not always be like. So how do you stack this to 7? Like off balance has a cooldown of 20, like it procs for like 7 seconds and then it has a cooldown of 20 or 14 or something. How will you ever get to 7? Or am I reading this wrong? Anyway, let's move on. No cooldown in PvP. Yeah, okay. I see. Swarm. Increase the cost. So I like what they did to Growing Swarm. Oh yeah, now this ability now applies minor vulnerability to the target. So you get the 8% damage increase. This is really nice addition to Fetcher Infection, and Growing Swarm is now a stamina morph. So you can use this on the Stamina Warden in trash fights. Single target wise, it's not really worth. It does decent damage, but it's not like so good. Like I could not use it and I wouldn't lose damage. I can use it and I wouldn't gain damage, but I will lose sustain. So I will just not use it. Can just use a Consuming Trap or Soul Splitting Trap and you will have way better sustain for the same damage. Arctic Wind, this ability and its morphs have regained the original function of Arctic Blast and deal frost damage in a 6-meter area around the caster while the hero time persists. This damage scales with your max magic and spell damage to prevent compounded power for tank builds. This morph no longer converts ability into an awkward projectile stun. Instead, this ability has inherent permafrost, old functionality. Hit 3 times in rapid succession if they are stunned. Okay, so it's basically back to the old thing. I guess that's fine. But how much higher ping do you have now, Ihab? Maybe because a lot of new people are playing the game now, or like a lot of people are on the servers, maybe the ping is a little bit higher. Wardens really don't perform well in PvE this patch. PvP, I'm not sure. But PvE, with the bear you get decent DPS on the target dummy, but you're not gonna run the bear in trials. That's like a lot of DPS down the river. Crystallized Slab, this morph now has 500 million. Okay. Reduce the cost. Ooh. Oh, this is another Twisting Puff change. Okay, so they increase the damage here to save the Warden from being completely useless. Still useless.
What do you see from that little cave?
Wait, Tauna, how can your ping be 200 on EU and NA? Do you live in the middle? Okay, Niham. Hey, Stille. How you doing? Have you already raided? The Tem and Warren are pure support. You can still play them. They can still do damage, just not as good as others. Sleet Storm, Northern Storm, the Magicka. Yeah, this is weird. The Magicka, max Magicka granted from this morph is no longer enabled passively by slotting. Instead, it is granted for 30 seconds after activating the ultimate. Increase the amount of magic granted to 9 from 8. And it goes up to 15%. This is a weird change. 30 seconds is a long time though. I guess it's nice. Permafrost. This morph no longer stuns enemies who are hit multiple times by the effect, but instead increase the duration. Okay. Increase the snare to 70. Just leave it at 40, please.
What do you see?
I reduce the damage done. Okay, so it's more of a utility thing. It doesn't do a lot of damage anymore. I just hate 70% snares. I'm doing good. And massage today. Tomorrow I'm preparing to go to Switzerland. Then I have 2 weeks vacation. And in the vacation I can try to write my bachelor thesis. Sounds like an amazing vacation to me, right?
What do you see from that little cage?
But the clock is ticking, so I can't. Mid-January is I have to hand it in. If I hand in empty papers, they're gonna be like, no, no, no. I need an illusion spell. 100 illusion. Fuck. I gotta contact Todd Howard. He's good at illusion. Shook. Probably like 6 months because I started like 6 months to kind of gather information and start doing my survey. So I can have that shit almost ready when I start. Otherwise 3 months is not enough. The school is like, hey, you have 3 months time. But actually it's only 2 months and 3 weeks. And don't forget, it's not enough time actually. So you better start sooner. Okay, thank you. Great. Onslaught. This morph now grants penetration equal to 85% of the resistance, ignoring on the initial hit at rank 1, which increases to 100. Okay. Decrease to 5 seconds. So this can still be used as a pure burst ability. Which is nice, I guess. Wow, sunshine. Please. Carve. Reduce the damage per tick of this morph by approximately 40%. Rest in peace. Just gonna use Brawler because last Saturday in Cloud Rest I had like with Brawler and then Barrier and you have like a 60k shield on you. Easy peasy, you're not gonna die. I know like in endgame there's a lot of people that play other games at the moment because there's just nothing to do and a lot of people have problems to fill groups. So you're not wrong, Sunshine. Well, I'm not writing the whole thesis in 2 weeks, Neuhab. I will try to get done as much as possible. But I'm in Switzerland where my buddies are mostly, so I'm probably gonna be drunk all the time and not make a lot of progress. So in 2 weeks I will be back here, complaining to you guys that I haven't done shit. Yeah, that's probably about right. Stampede, increase the duration to 10 and damage for this ability feels just weird to use. No bueno. Reverse slice. Fix an issue where AoE of this ability could critical strike. Why was that an issue? And why was it a bug? Since the initial hit can already critical strike, this was effectively allowing the attack to double crit. Contributing to a tremendous power spike. That's funny. But what they still haven't fixed is, it's also a bug. Because Bloodthirsty also dips. So you hit the dude with the main ability, with Bloodthirsty, it deals 60k damage. And then the secondary effect benefits again from Bloodthirsty too. They haven't fixed that. But okay. Maybe next patch, right? It wasn't really an issue. Was it that strong? It's probably too much when both can critical strike. Yeah, that's too much. So that's a good change. Uppercut. Reduce the damage dealt by this ability and its morphs by approximately 16% to injury. Does not eclipse other damage abilities such as dots. This is swing. This morph no longer knocks the target back and stuns them, but instead sets them off balance for 7 seconds. Note you can retain the function of the stun if you attempt to heavy attack the target. So... go ask Fangrush how he feels about his dizzy swing. I watched his stream a little bit yesterday and was not happy. I don't think dizzy swing was the problem. The stun was fine. It's just the dizzy swing into onslaught combo is the problem, right? But I see what Sauce is trying to do. They want that, like, hard-hitting abilities don't have a stun effect attached to them anymore. That's basically what they're working on. Yes, Neuhab, yes. I don't think Dizzy deserved that nerf though. I mean, good players, it's so easy to avoid Dizzies. You just need to rotate correctly around the player. But obviously if the other player is also good, then maybe not. But yeah, it's because onslaught, like, it's because Dizzy Swing onslaught combo. Because previously Dizzy Swing was not an issue, and then onslaught got buffed, and now Dizzy gets nerfed. It's like... I don't understand, but okay, whatever. Ransack fixed an issue, sure, dual wield, flurry. Reduce damage by 8, bloodthirst by... Okay. Twin slashes. You are officially the worst damage over time effect in the whole game. Yes, that's what it says there. Blade Cloak. Increase the base duration of this ability more to 10. Increase the cost. So I tested this once. The sound of Blade Cloak is so it's so loud. It's not a bad ability. It actually deals decent damage, but it's very expensive. And it makes your head go zoom, zoom, zoom. So it's not really used. Poison Arrow. Decrease the damage per tick. If you're not using the Master Bow, I would not use Poison Injection, but rather just like Consuming Trap. It will save sustain and do the same damage.
What do you see from that little cage?
Fangrush made a great point though. If you manage to get the right timing on Dizzy, it should be rewarded. Well, yeah. It's the same. Look, I can bring the same argument with reflective skills. Back in the days, you could reflect meteors to the enemy, right? And then people complained about it. Because it's like, oh, Sauce, I'm so dumb. I know that Dragon Knights can reflect my meteor, but I will drop it anyway because I'm a moron. And then it gets reflected, so they go complain on the forum. And what does Sauce do? Instead of telling them to learn to play, they nerf it. And it was literally the most fun ability or reaction to see when a meteor gets reflected back because the other dude was too retarded. Drop it on a Dragon Knight. Every dude with 2 brain cells knew that if you drop a meteor on a Dragon Knight, it might come back, right? But no, God, no, it's not good to have fun in this game, so let's just fucking nerf it. A decent player knew it would come back. A decent player wouldn't drop a meteor, but it's just like, I don't understand. I also don't think anyone got mad if a meteor came back. That's just my opinion. I used to play a lot of DK back in the days and it was so fun to play. It's just so much of that stuff gone. And it's like, when you drop a meteor on a Dragon Knight and it came back, it's like, oh shit, I fucked up. Maybe next time I should learn to play. But you don't need to learn to play if Sauce just nerfs it, right?
What do you see from that little...
Anyway, let's move on. How did we even get there? Oh, because of... Yeah, okay. Scatter Shot no longer knocks back targets hit, but instead reduces their movement speed by 6. So it's a snare now. No, that knockback was really annoying. So I'm actually happy they changed that. It's a snare now. Okay. Volley increased the base cost to 4-5. That's a lot. I don't feel... I agree with the... like... damage had to calm down, but it's just like the cost increase. Don't forget we still have Stone Fist. I think I need to get my bottle of whiskey soon. It's like okay, let me bitch a little bit more. It's literally like if you are in a PvP guild. So let's say Little Timmy joins Cyrodiil first time, and it's like Daddy Alfred. It's like, Timmy, listen, it's a Dragon Knight there. Don't drop your meteor on the Dragon Knight. It will come back. What does little Timmy do? He drops the meteor on the Dragon Knight and it comes back and he dies. So that is like, told you, kid. But Timmy already didn't listen because he was already busy complaining on the forums. F for Timmy, yeah. Timmy asks, how do I kill the DK then? Use any of the other fucking 10 ultimates that you have or whatever?
What do you see from that?
I mean, it's like... Soul Trap, this even more will no longer... okay, reduce the damage per tick, so... Consuming Trap and Soul Splitting, they're still decent. They got hit hard, but they're still better. And especially on Stamina. It's like, well... Because it costs magic, it saves you a lot of sustain. It's Timmy's fault, okay? Anyway, let's move on. Werewolf. Infectious Claw disciplines morphs now immediately apply the disease status effect to enemies hit and do disease damage rather than a hybrid of physical and disease. Okay. Decrease the damage per tick by 40 and then here more heals for 100% of the damage cost instead of 50. Okay. Because the damage is lower, the heal is higher. So it's the same or less, I guess. Decrease the damage per tick of bleed. Yeah, so... I mean... Werewolf could also hit hard, but all classes got hit hard, including Werewolf, so it's probably still decent. And Blood Moon got the huge buff, actually, so it's not bad. Guys, if you see Timmy in Cyrodiil, make sure to drop a meteor on him. Maybe 2 or 3. Or 4 even better. Werewolf food, but that one is useless, no? What is the werewolf food for? Fighter skill, Trap Beast. Reduce the damage. RIP. It's still good. We still need Minor Force. Who is Timmy? We will never know, Dodo. Reduces ulti cost? Okay. How much? Reduce the base cost. Oh no, okay. So D-Gen is still really strong too. Like on a Magica build, I would actually use D-Gen over Soul Splitting or Consuming. If you like would use one of them. I won't, don't use Pack Leader. The Berserker is strong, pretty sure. Scalding Rune, yeah, useless. Yeah, I don't know why they did that. Like, I tried to use Trapping Webs. The animation is so bad, it literally bugged out my whole character. And it's so bad. It has like a second cast time, even though it's instant cast. And when you weapon swap cancel it, half the time it doesn't go out. There's a cast time attached to it, I'm just not sure why. Lingering health potions. Okay. Shield enchants no longer grant bash cost reduction. That's nice. I never understood why they did. Potions that increase your physical or spell resistance no longer grant major resolve for weapons and grant a unique value. So that's where in PvP this is a little bit OP because you can make like max health, max stamina, and increase your physical resistance by 5,200. And that stacks on top of other major buffs. And that's for the full duration. So that's basically 5k resistances for free. That's kind of broken. No one dies in PvP anymore. Just wait till people catch up on this. And then definitely nobody will die anymore. Not a lot of people know yet that these potions exist. Once people figure this out, they will definitely use them. They're so... like, it's 5k... it's crazy. And the full duration. Fix multiple issues related to the Ravage health and creeping. Okay, fix. Now sets. It's a lot of sets that got changed. Affliction. Biggles. Okay, that's a fix. Also, Blight enemies can now only have one instance of Blight Seed on them at a time. But multiple players wearing the set can contribute to the stack count of the Blight Seed. Okay. Before it could stack. Okay, okay. Barskin. This set heals proc now have a visual effect. Okay. Blood Moons. It increased the light attack damage to 55. So this is a really strong set. It's really nice that they buffed it. And you don't even need to have a crit strike anymore. Increase the bleed damage to 33. Fix the bug, okay. Deadly strike increase the damage bonus to 20%. So overall the dots got nerfed, right? But deadly strikes is definitely still a very viable option if you're focusing on a dot build. 45 brass, reduce the physical spell resistance granted from the 5 piece to 3,460. So 45 got nerfed. It's still good, just not as good anymore. I just don't understand why they nerfed this, but then they have shit like this in the game. Don't understand, but okay, whatever. Grant Rejuvenation. This item set will no longer grant 750 stamina to allies hit by the initial heal of Grant. Heal of Grant healing or its morphs. Instead, the initial heal of Grant healing will restore 100 magic and stamina. I complained to Sauce about... No, I gave feedback every week. Sauce, this is gonna be abused. Sauce, they're like... No reply. And now, one patch later, they changed it. It's like... I told you so? But maybe it was because of another reason. Anyway. Height of the Werewolf. This set's ultimate gain now has a visual effect. Ooh. Ooh. Chudan! I wonder when Chudan will get the Ox. It's gonna get nerfed at some point. I'm surprised it's on that. Anyway, fix. Ravager, fix. Scourge, fix. More. Oh, jeez. Reduced. Oh, this is a big boy one. Reduce the amount of stamina restore from this set to 115, down from 500. This set now also returns Magicka. So it's basically 230 down from 500. That's a huge nerf. I think they should have reduced it. 500 was definitely a lot, but now it's really low. It's still good. It's still very strong, but... Well, let's not say strong, but it's still good to use. But yeah, it's a sledgehammer nerf. Shouldn't be that big. Steadfast Hero. Increase the cooldown of this set to 20 seconds, up from 10 seconds to reduce some of the staggering power. This set, throw it into the garbage can. 20 seconds cooldown is way too big. Hey Austin, how you doing?
What do you see from that little cage?
So we can use damage set? Yeah. Well, I mean, most classes already have major resistances, right? You can get them very easily. And now you use that potion and gain another 5k. It will be no surprise to most people that nobody will die in PvP anymore. Because everybody sits at fucking 30 or 35k resistances easily. Okay, virulent shot. Reduce the range requirement to reach duration to set 50 meters? Okay. I never used this. Is this actually good? Does somebody know?
What do you see from that little cage?
Okay. So overall, I like that they have like this memory management overhaul. I'm just not sure if it really helps. And the queue system rework. I think these are the biggest things. The new sets are definitely nice, so that it's not just proc set garbage, but actually sets that you can be like, oh, I could actually use this if I wanted, and not feel bad. And the item set reworks from the old one is also nice. Maybe some are a little bit OP, but I like that they look at old sets. It looks like they really try to actually change some of these sets to make them more viable. Overall, yes, them DPS is too high, so it had to come down. I just don't agree how they handled it. I don't think the sustain, like the cost increase, at least not that much. Maybe it's just too much of a nerf. And the dots, most of them are not really worth running it, so I think they need to amp it up a little bit. Meta-wise, they tried to make Necro less relevant, but to be honest, even with that major vulnerability, invulnerability, so apparently it works like off balance now, right? Like this here. So when you have major vulnerability on the enemy for 8 seconds, it gets a cooldown. And the cooldown is called major vulnerability, invulnerability. No shit. Good troll. It doesn't solve the issue, because you still want to stack necrulties on trash spikes when there is several, like when there's trash pack, you still want to drop Colossus left and right, especially on waves and stuff like that. Last set? Yeah, maybe. So yeah, Necro is still very strong overall. I still think I will give them time till the next chapter. Maybe we just don't see the full picture yet. It's my only explanation, really. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else. Maybe they just don't know what they're doing. I'm hopeful though. It is annoying at the moment. I just hope they're done with these sweeping changes every 3 months. No other MMO does this. Maybe once a year. Maybe twice, like once every 2 years. But not every 3 months. It's too much. People can't handle it. It's annoying. When you work on a build and then by the time you have it finished, it's useless again. People will just stop playing and go play other games. And like I mentioned before, Elsewhere, they sold so many copies of Elsewhere compared to Somerset and Morrowind. But none of these players sticked around. Like, we are at the same level of players than the previous year. And that should not be the case, especially if you sell that much copies. Was the content shit? Was it because of the bugs? Was it because, like, the performance was just shit? Source needs to figure it out. They really need to figure it out. So next chapter, hopefully players will stay longer. Maybe the whole year instead of... I mean, there will always be a dip, but it shouldn't be as crazy as the previous year. You want to see growth. Even if it's only a little bit. I don't think new people are crying that the game is too hard. Do they? I don't think... I'm just not sure, because like people buy the chapter and then you play the chapter. But like you buy the chapter, you get put into the chapter directly. But it's like all the old content. Most people probably don't even know that it's there. I just think it would be better if Source would put people into the Wailing Prison, and then people can decide from there on where to go to, right? Like with Final Fantasy, they have to go through all the old content as well. So I just don't like think they can't really revert that change anymore, right? Because they have like this idea, okay, there's a new chapter, you want to play it, we will make it happen. You can't grind. What do you mean with grind 16? I mean, for me personally, gear. It's too easy to get with transmuting and group share. But that's just me, right? A lot of people told me, no, definitely not. It's like when there is a new dungeon coming out, I run that for like 6-7 hours and I will have the full gear setup. If you share the gear between your people and then transmute it, you're done. In other games, you can't share between group. And there is like one good item that drops per dungeon and that's it. So you have to run that shit 200 times. But for most people in ESO, I think that would be too grindy. Yeah, that's just me. Okay. So yeah, it's really hard, but obviously WoW doesn't have the same player base as ESO, right? I don't think it would work here. But I feel like they could make it a little bit more grindy. Because when there is a new DLC, like Dungeon DLC, I do the dungeon maybe 3 times and then I'm done. Like, and then I don't do it anymore. Like, what's the point? I'm not grinding dungeons if there is no gear to get or anything. And the hard achievements don't even reward you with anything. That's my other problem. You don't get a title, you don't get a skin or a mount or anything. Nothing. So yeah, anyway, that's a patch review here. We will see how it turns out. For Source, it's most likely a work in progress, so they're not done changing stuff. So we will see more big changes next patch. Probably till up the chapter. So I wouldn't get too tight with your current build that you're working on, because most likely it's gonna get nuked again.